So you want to be a dungeon master?
So you want to be a dungeon master?
So you want to be a DM?
Name some feats, okay? Feats.
So you want to be a DM?
That's great. We're here to help. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin. This week, we're going to be covering the popular TTRPG that has inspired so many spin-offs, Mörk Borg. This deadly setting and game are coming out of Ockult, Ortmastare games, and Stockholm Kartell. I've heard this game described as a death metal TTRPG. The graphic design certainly evokes that sort of vibe, but what exactly is Mörk Borg? How do you play? And most importantly, what kind of stories can it help us tell? Well, let's get into it. But first, always got to be a but first. Taylor, what is the point of telling a story or playing a TTRPG, for that matter, where you know that at the end of the game, the experience of playing, the world and every character in it dies? We're talking apocalypse.
So I'm just going to quote 3 words from one of my favorite book series of all time, the Stormlight Archive, Journey Before Destination. It's all about the journey, baby.
Yeah.
Where it ends, it's always going to end the same for everybody. It's what you do before you get to the end that matters.
That's so true. That's so true. It is an interesting veering away from what we're kind of used to with most D&D stories.
Right.
Where we're playing out this heroic fantasy. The hero wins most of the time in a D&D campaign or setting or one shot even. And so it is a nice and interesting change where you go into it as a player. That's got to be wild to go in and be like, I know my characters are going to die. I mean, we've talked about in previous episodes, we answered that but first, and we had mentioned Patrick's email, and we talked about meat grinders and like doing that kind of thing. And there's all different kinds of games for that. And so I know that it's possible. I know that we've discussed other campaign ideas for future projects where death would be very much on the table. It would be a no holds barred kind of, we're going for the jugular on this one. And so it's not that D&D can't necessarily go a little more deadly, but this is different. Mörk Borg is really shooting for the end times.
Right.
Like that is the very strong vibe of this game. It's one of the things that it would feel strange to, unless you were just using the system for system's sake, it feels like a strange departing from what Mörk Borg is, which is this death metal vibe of like the intensity of the action and the violence and sort of that horror aspect to things in a way, while also it being an apocalyptic story. I think that's part of it. I mean, I'll let you decide as we go through this episode.
Yeah,
I'll largely be running us through this one, but I want you to feel free to ask any questions along the way or give your ideas for how that would look or whatever.
Yeah, the interesting part about this is that I've not really done really anything with this game before. Justin has all the books. I've not played it. I've not never been a part of it. I know that there's also a million like little spin-off games like Pirate Borg and all this other stuff. I haven't really played any of them. So I'm going to be here kind of being the audience and asking all the questions.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it because I have played a lot of the spinoffs. I haven't actually never played Mörk Borg itself, but I've been reading the book, cover to cover multiple times just because it's so interesting the way that it's written, the way that the artwork is, the graphic design of it all. And so let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Let's get into it. But before we do that, I have to talk about the Patreon. I'm so sorry. Gang, have you heard of the Patreon? Have I talked about it before? Am I repeating myself? I'm so sorry. I'm embarrassed if I am, but I'm going to continue on Anyway, the Patreon is so cool, guys.
It's
It's
so
so
cool.
cool, gang. Check it out. There are not only tons of homebrew things there just for being a member, but there's also homebrew and bonus content like the bonus action and the action surges. We have a lot of actual plays that are going to be coming out in 2026. And with that comes along action surges, which is a little bit of behind the scenes table talk, cool down after each session of an actual play. So many cool things available, but you got to check it out. So hit up the link in the description or find it somewhere below. You'll see it. It's there. We're on Patreon. We're So You Want to Be a DM. Now let's get into the meat of the episode.
Let's do it.
So, first and foremost, I just want to give a shout out to the creators. That feels appropriate. Call me crazy. But for the original text, ideas, and game design, we have Pell Nilsson. For the graphic design and artwork, we have Johan Noor, plus some public domain images. They mention that specifically. On the cover, it's very funny. It says Johan Noor and dead people. But then on the inside, it elaborates and says that they used some images from the public domain, which I think is really smart and really fun. And I've started to do that with a lot of graphic design stuff. And there's some really crazy things out there. And then English writing and composition, Patrick Stewart. So that kind of brings it full circle to translating it, because this is a Swedish company and game and everything. Mörk Borg is Swedish for Dark Fort. And the graphic designer Johan Noor, my understanding through talking to some other indie publishers and stuff like that, is that he used to work on like metal music magazines and that kind of stuff, which is like, you can tell obviously colors his influence of kind of typography and artwork and stuff like that. Like it's pretty gnarly stuff. I love it. I'm a big fan of that just because I love that type of choosing the artistic way of displaying the information as opposed to maybe, I mean, there's obviously like, I think that there's ways to get digital copies that can like help for accessibility purposes, because some of the typography is like legitimately hard to read.
Right.
So like I could see that being a thing, but for the most part, it was an enjoyable read for sure. Very, very interesting. And so really briefly, and I am going to genuinely try and like run through this, and it's going to be a testament of my own mouth and what it's able to do in this moment.
Sure.
Take a big whiff of coffee and run through it. I'm going to try and go over the setting. It's wild.
Okay.
They do provide a map, but it is a map that reminded me of how Dimension 20 made a map for Never After, where it was so much more artistic than like helpful.
Right.
Here's the map.
Sure. Yeah.
You see what I'm dealing with? Like, it's got the place names on it. You know, like where things are in relation to other things, I guess.
Right.
But man, it is crazy. And some of the writing, you're like, is that an A? Is that an H? Oh, it's a Q. Oh, okay. That Gothic lettering will get you every time. So, ooh, baby, we have a lot. So it starts off this story, the way this setting, because of its apocalypse being an ever-present thing in the game, it is also an ever-present thing in the setting and in the world building. It all kind of stems from that. And that's where they start the story as well. They really nailed this down. So we start off with Anouk Schlegel, a monk who wrote down the prophecies of Verhew, one of the basilisks. So there's these basilisks. Some of them can tell the future, and those futures begin coming true to the point where this figure, Verhew, becomes like an idol, like god-like status, right?
Okay.
As this monk figure, Schlegel, is writing down these prophecies, this becomes the nameless scriptures. For hundreds of years, they're lost to time. But once they're found again, they replace all scripture because every single thing in them is perfectly correct. So then there's this order called the Two-Headed Basilisk. They're the ones who
Okay.
discovered the scripture while they were building a cathedral. This all happens in Galgenbeck, the greatest city that ever was.
Mm.
And they build the greatest city that ever was, around the location of this nameless scripture.
Okay.
So the Two-Headed Basilisk is the name of this like monk order kind of government theocracy almost that comes to light, that kind of a doom prepper cult, if you will.
Okay.
Except that they're always fucking right because they're listening to these nameless scriptures from Verhu, right? But there's more basilisks. There's actually 2 basilisks, and each basilisk has 2 heads, hence the name of the cult.
Okay.
Verhu is just a quarter of the basilisks. He's just 1 head out of 4 heads, you know? But he's the most worshipped. He has tons of apocalyptic prophecies. So he's the one spouting all this information that's getting sopped up by the public.
Okay.
Then we have Verhu's twin, Gorg. He's bitter. He's rank with envy, you know? Typical, you know? That makes sense. The other 2, they come from the Bergen Crypt, and they're older. We have Lucy. It's Lusi. A lot of these things come from British, so it's like, you know, bear with me. Give me some slack on some of this stuff. But we got Lucy, or denial, and then we have Arc, or deception. So Lucy would be the basilisk who would tell you, hey, listen, the world's not going to end. Everything is fine. Because they're denial.
There is no war in Ba Sing Se. Yeah.
Exactly. Deception, or Arc, would be the one to say, actually, no, I have another prophecy that supersedes that one, and everything's going to be fine. So it's a different type of denial in this deception of like, actually, no, I'm the real one who tells the prophecies.
Right.
But so you have those like these demigod or godlike characters just chilling in the background. These like actual figures that you could in theory find in the game, but they're very like demigod status like. So I mentioned Galgenbeck already, the greatest city that ever was. In the moment of playing the game, they list out like really, they're really basic with the setting. It's truly just like a couple of names, locations, and vibes, but it doesn't go into any greater detail. It's not going to name a single tavern. They're not going to give you plot hooks, except for in the descriptions themselves, where it'll explain something about like the person who runs Galgenbeck. So they don't have a king, they don't have a queen, they have an archpriestess named Yosilfa Meagle. Her throne is deep beneath the cathedral of the 2-headed basilisks, and the commoners there gossip that she colludes with the god Necrabo. And Necrabo is referred to as the shadow that covers all. It is said that Necrabo is the one who whispers the prophecies to Verhu. So that if that's true, then Verhu's a poser this whole fucking time and is just a mouthpiece for a more powerful person. So it's like one of those like potential heresy situations, or like, you know, like it's almost like Da Vinci Code, where it's like, yeah, you have the Catholic Church, and then you have a couple of the Catholic Church who are like, no, Jesus, like had a wife and they had another kid and and all this other stuff, and Jesus's daughter. And it's like, okay, so there's like a more radical sect of religion there. Then north of Galgenbeck, we have Sarkash, this forest. It's spreading unnaturally fast, twists and turns, almost intentionally to lead wanderers astray. And inside of this forest is a halo of dying trees called the Graven Tosk, which is an ancient cemetery. Then we have
creepy.
Dude, it's everything about this place is dark as hell. At Galgenbeck, we have a gothic black castle called the Palace of the Shadow King. It is like a mirror to the cathedral of the two-headed basilisks, in that the cathedral to the two-headed basilisks is like white stone, and then you have this large black Gothic castle. So they're kind of like mirrors to each other. Um, Wrapping things up, we have Grift, a city-state in the Eastern Peninsula. King Sigfum. Whoa, his name is crazy. King Sigfum the Kind is preparing his peoples for their deaths. He is essentially like Jonestowning his people.
Oh,
Yeah. And you know what? The Inquisition of the two-headed basilisk does not like that.
yeah, yeah.
They think, according to the two-headed basilisk, it's kind of like, no, you need to just wait for the apocalypse. Just like let the apocalypse happen and let it wash over you. And the kind, Sigfum the Kind is like, no, everything is so terrible. He genuinely believes that he's doing like
The
taking them out of their
humane thing.
mercy. Yeah,
Yeah.
like mercy killing, kind of mercy mass suicide, though. It's really dark stuff. So there's
Ooh.
that. Then
Ooh.
we got Kyrgyz, a desolated and barren land to the west of Svelland. North Kyrgyz has Alions, a storm-piercing spire city of black glass. I wrote that word for word from the book. That sounds sick as hell, right?
It does sound sick as hell.
Sounds dope as hell. Within that is a white stone castle where the Blood Countess Anthelia lives, and some say she is eternally young, like some kind of curse or gift was placed upon her, or maybe some kind of pact. Then we have the Western Kingdom, called Wasteland by the Simple and the Poor, once home to Lake Onda, which used to have lots of fish and was an incredible fishing area,
Mhm.
but unfortunately no longer due to the, apocalypse. Then we have Schleswig, a sad but gaudy city ruled by King Fathmu the Ninth, a paranoid, fat, and increasingly mad person. And then we have the Valley of the Unfortunate Undead, rumored that Verhew the Basilisk is coiled within its crypts. Many people come here to die. And then there are rumors that the air is lethal. Others say that the soil eats you up and brings you to the realm of the dead. All different kinds of shenanigans and dungeons and crypts. Speaking of dungeons, that's next episode, gang. Be sure to, if you're not clicking the subscribe button or whatever the hell, check us out. But that's kind of the setting, man.
It's scary, rad. There's a million different adjectives I could throw onto this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. I do like that it is kind of just broad strokes that you can fill
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. It is really
Because it's
like,
one of those things where you could play this same game 4 or 5 times, however many times, and get a completely different game every single time.
oh, 1,000,000%. Like when they're talking about things like the Western Kingdom that I talked about with Lake Onda and the fishing and all that kind of stuff, this is it. This whole
Right,
page, and half of the page is artwork or like just font.
right.
And then it's this little bit here and this little chunk here. And that's it. That's all that you get for the Western Kingdom.
hmm
Like they're very brief about the setting, but they drop a lot of names. They drop like location things and like feelings and like emotions that you can kind of pull from. The vibes
Yeah,
are there.
for sure.
The vibes are there. So you know how to, if you wanted to like stay in this world and really like kind of go with what the designers wanted to, I think it could be pretty easy to do that,
hmm
you know, to build off of this, add things that you wanted to. But if we're going to get into this world, get into this place, then we got to play the game. You know what I
Right.
mean?
hmm
And
hmm
so
hmm
now it's time to get into the game. So now we're going to cover how to play. So the interesting thing, as soon as you get done with the like setting and that part of the
hmm
book, then we get into this crazy mechanic. And this is kind of our apocalypse mechanic here. And it's referred to as the calendar of Necrabel. Again, kind
It's
of pointing
so
to that
rad.
idea that Necrabel is actually the one pulling the strings for the prophecies and stuff. So the way this calendar works is each dawn, the GM rolls a die. If it's a 1 on that die, then a misery occurs. The die that is used to determine that is determined like, so obviously if I use a D100, the chances of me rolling a 1 are pretty low. But if I roll a D6, my chances are much greater of rolling a 1. So then you have to ask yourself, how do you decide which dice to roll? And it's a question between the GM and the table. When will this agony end? When will this terrible dark times end and the apocalypse finally give us sweet release? Years of pain, D100, all the way up to a D2, which is essentially flipping a coin.
Right.
The end is nigh. So that's a question for you players and the table to decide how likely do we want this thing to occur, you know?
Right.
Because the
no matter
miseries are
what,
interesting.
it's gonna, I'm assuming that they progress to a certain point and then it's
Pretty
over.
much.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So the way that it works is every time you get that 1 and a misery occurs, we roll on something called a D66 table. Now, the interesting thing about a D66 table, and they use a couple of them throughout the book, and so do other systems as well, but it's really just like a table where you're rolling 2 D6s, preferably of like different colors or something. And one of them stands for the ones place, and one of them stands for the tens place.
Right.
Almost like a D100 does. So in this case, the lowest you can get is an 11 because of a 1 and a 1, and the highest you can get is a 66. Once you get 6 miseries, the 7th misery will always be 7-7, which is obviously something you can't normally roll with a 6-6.
Right.
This is the last day, and that is the end of the world. The apocalypse comes to a finality. So obviously you can increase the chances of that happening more likely if you go to a D2. If you go to a D100, maybe the apocalypse doesn't happen during your campaign.
Right.
It's like looming over you, but it's not necessarily like around the corner. And that can change the entire vibe of the game, you know? So rolling on this table right now, Taylor, just for fun, can I have you roll a D66? 2 6s or a 6 back to back? Tell me the 2 numbers.
Sure. Yeah. Totally. Got you.
And you have dice.
I got you.
And Taylor is just
totally knew I was going to need dice for this episode. Totally was totally ready.
And Tyler, it looks like Taylor is setting off a Rube Goldberg machine to get their dice. What's this? Oh, it's setting a thing on fire. Oh, the candle is burning the string.
Well, it's too much fire. It's too much fire.
Oh no! Oh no! I'll add sound effect. I won't. Go
All
ahead.
right, I got
roll
2d6.
All right. Just remember which one is the 10s and which one is the ones.
We're gonna go blue for the 10s. 56.
56. So now what I would do is I would go into this little table here. I would look for 56. And this is how your day begins on that particular day that this misery occurs.
I'm sure it's going to be fine. It's going to be like bright, sunshiny day. Birds are singing. You get this smell of warm bacon.
And as that warm of smell bacon dissipates, and the last king and the last queen shall wither to dust. Their wretched courts are devoured by wolves. And so as governments around you begin to crumble and chaos ensues, as there is entire power vacuums in every kingdom of this land. What do you guys want to do today?
Brad. Eat the
Yeah,
rich. No, I mean, I'm all about eat the rich. That's fine.
no doubt. Yeah, it is kind of crazy to think about because you're gonna have like probably the cults and like the
Hmm.
bandit thieves guilds try and seize power. So even though I agree with you, eat the rich, it's still gonna be some dark times for a
Yeah.
little bit. And then number 77, which I'll read really quickly. This is the end times. All praise Yetsabanek, the underworld's nightmare, the black disk which stands before the sun. All praise Verhu, beaming with delight. All praise the fire which burns all, and the darkness shall swallow the darkness. You got darkness swallowing darkness. It's a darkness Ouroboros. I mean, what the hell? Yeah. It's a chicken or the egg situation, but with darkness on both sides.
Darkness and
So I mean,
darkness.
solve
Right,
that
right, right.
equation, Einstein. You know what I mean?
What came first, the darkness or the darkness? Who knows?
Exactly, man. It's got it. If you think about it for too long, roll
Mhm.
a d66, and it's a misery. So that's what we're working with here. That's how the game is kind of this. That's the through line mechanic to keep this thing kind of on a timeline. Now, for an actual play, and I'll just say this so briefly because we're doing a podcast on how to play the game. It's not about us.
Mhm.
I think I would have it so every episode starts with a misery.
Yeah.
Just because we're on a little bit of a time crunch.
Hmm. Hmm.
And because in that particular telling of the story, I do want the world to end.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, if that wasn't the case, then I wouldn't necessarily do that. Then I would keep it honorable and I would say, okay, let's keep it a
Now,
D10 or a D6. And if miseries happen, they happen. But if they don't, they don't.
is the seventh mystery just a reading, or is it there's still a little bit of gameplay after that?
It doesn't necessarily say.
Okay.
It just says the seventh misery will always be 7-7 and the world finally dies. The seventh seal is broken for the seventh and final time. The game and your lives end here. Burn the book.
Oh,
Is what it says.
okay. Sure.
So unfortunately, I will have to burn this book when we're done playing it, but it's
Mm.
worth it. I think it's worth it. I'll just have to buy it
That's
again.
a really nice way
Smart
to
marketing term.
sell more copies. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really smart. Good for them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Part of the instructions in the game, you got to burn it and buy a new one.
yeah, Fahrenheit 451 had something going on there. Um, okay, so now we're gonna get into creating a player character. Okay. Couple of things we got going on here right from the bat is you're going to randomize your starting equipment. So you're just rolling things like a D6, a D12, a D12. You're getting random things, right? A small wagon you can just start with, a backpack. You roll a 1 or a 2, you get nothing. On that
Rough.
second D12, third D12, then you can get anything from like a bomb to a bear trap. You can get monkeys that ignore but love you. That's just one
Hmm.
of them. Small but vicious dog, a heavy chain, a toolbox, crowbar, lard, a tent, silver crucifix, and then you're going to get your weapon and your armor. So for this, Taylor, I would love for you. Do you have all your dice, or did you just grab two dice?
I grabbed
Okay, cool. Just
I grabbed
checking.
my normal tray that I grabbed for D&D. So I've got like it's mostly
Amazing.
D8s and D6s, but I've got everything.
Do you have a D10?
I do have a D10.
Can I have you roll a D10, please, to see what kind of weapon your character will start with?
A 3.
A 3 is do do do. Where's number 3? A short sword.
Nice.
That's pretty
Hell
good.
yeah.
And then we get into the
Been watching a
armor
lot of Cell
here.
Sword Arts on TikTok. I'm sure I know how to do it now.
Hell yes. Go
Run it.
ahead and now roll a D4
Okay.
for armor.
2.
A 2, light armor,
Perfect.
fur, padded cloth, leather, etc. Okay, a minus D2 to damage. It's tier 1. It's not bad at all. And then you would roll for things like equipment and basic
Hmm.
things. Like there's a bunch of tables. It's very simple. And then you would roll for your abilities. Now, rolling
Okay.
for your abilities in this game is really interesting. Now, if you're creating a character from scratch, the way that we're doing it now, then that would involve rolling 3d6 for each of the 4 abilities. However, you get to choose 2 of them to roll 4d6 and drop the lowest. So you're kind of taking that risk that the 4d6 drop the lowest thing is going to make you those abilities better, which mathematically it should.
Right.
Our 4 abilities are thus: agility, that is defend, balance, swim, flee. Sure, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Then we have presence. This is perceiving, aiming, charming, and wielding powers.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of wisdom. It's a little bit of magic spellcasting kind of stuff too. We have strength, the most basic. Crush, lift, strike, grapple. Makes sense. And then we have toughness. This is your constitution, essentially. Resisting poisons, cold, heat, surviving falling. It's going to tell you how many hit points you have based on your toughness score. So once you roll that 3d6 or 4d6, dropping the lowest, eventually you're going to get a number, same as D&D, right? That number then corresponds to a table. The table is a little different than D&D's table, but it's set up the same way. The numbers are just slightly different for the modifiers.
Okay.
But it's going to work the same way where like a 9 through a 12 is a +0. 13 to 14 +1, 15 to 16 +2, 17 to 20 +3. And then you can also go into the negatives all the way down to a -3.
Lovely.
So anytime you're doing a test in this game, like a roll, you're going to roll a d20 and then plus or minus depending on your modifier.
Right.
Pretty basic. Everything has a difficulty rating instead of a difficulty class. So it's like combining challenge rating and difficulty class from D&D into just one thing. So it's DR. You'll see that a lot. DR20, DR14 or something like that. That's just the DC essentially.
Right.
And you're trying to meet it or beat it. So pretty basic stuff there. Now, it does say at this point that you can name your character if you wish, but it says very plainly it will not save you. So heads up there. Now, you do have some optional rules as well when you're creating a character. The first is by choosing or just rolling randomly to see which one you get. But there are some classes. Before I go over those, I'll go over those very briefly a little later. But there are like 5 to 6 classes that come with the game, and they give you smaller tables to work with for choosing your armor, giving a little bit of a vibe of that character. But just like the setting, they're very loose. It's freebies, you're just filling in the blanks pretty much. So that is one way to start off with the starting equipment, and everything is just by starting with a class instead of building your character straight up. I think that's really smart for starting players, for new players. I think it's a really good idea, especially if you're sticking with the setting as written a little bit more. I think the classes fit so perfectly into them. I can't wait to go over them with you because they're insane. Then we have all different kinds of tables to just continually further customize our character and fill them up with all different kinds of random things. Everything from like personality quirks to impulses or little tiny like things that they can't help or whatever. There's like all different kinds of silly little things. There's also stuff like scrolls and different magic items that they might be able to start with. And then there's something in the game called omens. Omens are really cool because they're kind of like these powerful little abilities that you get throughout the game where it depends on your class, or if you're classless, I think it gives you D2 each morning. So each morning your class, or if you don't have a specific class, then it's a D2. You're rolling that every morning to see how many omens you have for that day.
Okay.
Then once you have those omens, you can spend them throughout the day in one of 5 ways. So you get to choose one of these different ways of spending them as they're a resource. You can either deal maximum damage with an attack. Sick.
Mhm.
Re-roll a dice roll, yours or someone else's.
Oh,
Lower the damage dealt to you by a d6.
nice.
Neutralize a crit or a fumble. When we go over combat, you'll see that crits and fumbles are a big fucking deal.
Right.
Or you can lower one test's difficulty rating by -4.
Okay.
So that could be really helpful too.
Yeah.
And then these optional tables, there's trauma, childhood things, terrible traits that you could have, broken bodies, like having one hand, having a rotting face and wearing a mask. You lost 3 toes and you
Oh
limp.
my God.
Bad habits like being a pyromaniac, permanent phlegm deposit in the throat.
Oof.
You pick your nose so deep that it bleeds. Yeah, some really dark ones, and some. There's also your best friend is a skull. Carry it with you. Tell it everything. You trust no one more. Insecure. One of these. These are funny. Insecure shit stir. We'll talk about whoever just left the room. All kinds of stuff. Troubling tales. These are different tales that you can use into your backstory. It can also be like a way to connect the party members. So you can just choose them randomly or roll for them or something, but it could be like this one here that just says escaped cult member, terrified and paranoid. Other cultists are everywhere. That could be like how you tie in your characters for session 1. You guys all escaped the cult. So it's just like really cool stuff. There's also other kinds of arcane catastrophes that can happen throughout the game, especially if you try and read a scroll to essentially cast a spell and you fuck it up. Critical fumble on reading a scroll, arcane catastrophe. All kinds of stuff can happen.
I'm sure those are all fine, though. I mean,
Roll a
arcane
d20
catastrophe.
and we'll see.
Okay,
Roll
sure.
a d20
Yeah.
and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, okay. All right. They're all catastrophes. This is all arcane catastrophes. If it happens, it happens.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
These are all bad.
How's a 20? What about a
20?
natural 20?
It says perhaps it's for the best. He, all in bold font, he emerges from the shadows. At least your suffering is short, almost instantaneous, as the 2-headed basilisk devours you.
Fuck.
So your character's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you got a 2, it says you feel fine. It's bold font, fine. And then in pink, in bright pink font, it says you postulate with a magical STD. Those intimate with you will die of plague within D4 days, then rise as woeful weeping zombies who track you down in your dreams before finding you in reality.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
So I guess it's pretty intense. So I guess this game is pretty intense.
Sounds great. That one honestly wouldn't get me too bad. Like it would be fine. That one would be fine for
yeah,
me.
for sure. If you're playing a character who's not necessarily promiscuous, then that could certainly help for sure.
That's fine.
So there's all kinds of these funny tables and stuff, funny and dark. There is like you can feel that there's elements of comedy here, like throughout this, in the same way that horror and comedy share some blood cells.
Yeah.
So you have your abilities, you have all these other tables that you're rolling on. You got your D6s that you rolled for abilities, and all the other tables. Your carrying capacity is your strength +8, and that's how many normal sized items you can carry. Your hit points is just your toughness plus a D8. Worst case scenario, it'll be a 1. So no worries there. Like I was saying, the most often thing that you're going to be rolling throughout this game is a D20. And it's plus or minus your modifiers rolled against that DR, that difficulty rating, depending on how challenging the task is. That will also come into play often with combat. You'll be rolling D20s pretty often for combat, except for damage dice. So it's very similar to D20 in that regard. I believe this is referred to as an OSR system, but I could be mistaken in that. So I don't want to put that on paper, but I think it. Yeah.
Okay.
So said a couple things I saw, but and that's all I'll say.
Okay.
So then let's get into some violence,
Let's
aka
do it.
combat. So combat run in Mörk
Violence.
Borg is interesting, fast, fun, thematic. We start off with initiative, right? You're
Mhm.
rolling a d6, 1, 2, or 3. The enemies go first. 4, 5, 6. The PCs goes first. But if you want to do individual initiative or determine who goes first in a group specifically, then it would be your agility plus a d6.
Okay.
So I kind of like the just having the entire sides go. I'm kind
Yeah.
of digging that from time to time, but it is what it is. Now the interesting thing is players are rolling dice for both their offense and their defense. Creatures and enemies are not rolling dice in combat.
Okay.
So you're rolling a d20 strength test in order to do melee attacks. You're trying to hit a
Mhm.
12. And this is the interesting thing. Notice I didn't ask you, I'm not telling you what monster you're fighting.
Right.
It's
It's just
just
a
a
12.
12, straight
Right.
up.
Okay.
Then, so strength for melee,
Mhm.
presence for ranged attacks,
Mhm.
and defense. So anytime the monster's turn and they're going to attack you, instead of me rolling for the attack for on the monster's behalf, you're rolling defense.
Okay.
So you would
And if
roll
I
an
get below a
agility test,
12,
then
what?
it hits you.
Right. I gotcha.
And then I would roll damage depending on the monster.
Okay.
If you fail, the enemy hits you. They attack once per round unless otherwise noted. So if they were
Mhm.
to attack twice because of the type of monster stat block that you get, then you would roll that defense check twice. Now,
Okay.
when you get down to 0 HP, notice I say when, not if, because it's Mörk Borg, baby. So when you get down to 0 HP, you are broken, but you are not dead.
Okay.
Now, it's very likely that you can become dead very quickly at this stage, so you need to be very careful. So what you're going to do is you're first going to roll a d4. On a
Okay.
1, you fall unconscious for d4 rounds and you awaken with d4 hit points. So you're just knocked out of the fight for a couple of rounds, maybe.
Okay.
And then you pop back up with health. If you roll a 2, then you roll a d6 to have some kind of crazy thing happen, like breaking or severing a limb, losing an eye, or you're just unable to act for a certain number of rounds, and then you pop back up with health.
Okay.
Then, if you get a 3, you hemorrhage. You're going to die in D2 hours unless treated, and all tests become a DR16 within the first hour, a DR18 the last hour.
So if you roll a 1 on the D2, then all your things go straight to an 18.
That is
Got it.
correct.
Okay.
That is
Cool, cool,
correct.
cool.
And if you roll a 4, you're just dead.
Sure. Yeah, naturally.
So there's a 25% chance that when you hit 0 hit points, you do die.
Mhm.
But maybe not. Who knows? Now, let's get into some criticals, some fumbles. If you roll a crit on an attack, so obviously a d20, you're rolling a 20.
Mhm.
On an attack, that's double damage. You're reducing their armor or their protection by 1 tier.
Ooh.
So there's not armor class in Mörk
Right,
Borg,
right, right.
right? The way that works is your armor, so the heavier armor you get is a damage reduction kind of thing. So Taylor says, okay, I rolled 4 damage. And then if I'm wearing really heavy armor, I might roll a D8 and be like, oh, a 7. I
Mhm.
don't take any damage, even though you hit.
Right.
So that could be something that would happen. But if you get that critical, then it starts to bump that thing down. And now my armor is getting weaker and weaker.
Oh, and it stays that way. It doesn't like
Yeah,
it's not for
correct.
just that one crit. It on lowers it completely.
It stays that way.
Oh, that sucks to get crit on. It
Yeah,
sucks to get crit on.
it is rough. Now, if you crit on your defensive move,
Mhm.
because again, the players are rolling defense, right? So
Right.
I'm never going to crit.
Right.
You're going to crit or you're going to fumble. Your fumbles
Right.
are my crits.
Right. Right. Right.
So if you crit on a defensive roll, then you get a free attack.
Nice.
Yeah, just a free attack, which is dope. Now fumbles. If you fumble an attack and get a nat 1, your weapon is either lost or broken.
God damn.
So now you're just fighting with your hands or you're grabbing another weapon or something. Yeah, you got to get real creative at that point.
Wow.
Now, what if you fumble on a defensive roll? I'm glad you asked.
Mm-hmm.
You take double damage and your armor is reduced 1 tier. Now, your armor can be repaired unless it is reduced below first tier, which would be a minus D2. It's like the lowest that you can reduce from the damage is a minus D2. So once it reduces past that, then it's unfixable. It's totally broken.
Now, there's no such thing as like proficiencies and stuff too. So there's theoretically you can just get new armor or better armor or upgrade your armor throughout the course of the game.
There is like costs for things. Silver,
Right.
as you can imagine, is going to be insanely hard to come by. So any items, even getting like, 20 arrows, like that's a huge commodity in this game. Like resources are incredibly hard to come for. There aren't very many shops and stuff. So that's definitely a thing. But you can buy armor in theory. They have costs for everything. All the equipment has a little cost next to it, usually in silver.
Okay.
Then Jessica just jumped up onto my leg. Her claws are stabbing me. Little daggers into my leg. Just like D&D, a round is 6 seconds. So easy to keep track of things. 10 rounds is a minute. Nice and easy. So you're going to get pretty few hit points, you know?
Right.
So just for fun, Taylor, go ahead and roll a D8. Let's say you have a +3 in your toughness, the highest it can be. Unlikely that could happen, but let's say that it did. What did you roll on that D8? A 1?
A 1.
Yeah. So you have 4 hit points. That's your max hit points.
Rad. Okay, cool.
And that's with the best toughness modifier you can get.
That's awesome.
So now keep that in mind as we go into some rest rules. Keeping in mind that monsters can just be doing like 4 or 5 points of damage in a single hit. But
no, I'm fine.
So now you're rested. Let's pretend like you have only 1 hit point or something. Now, if you take what's considered a short rest, catching your breath, having a drink, having a quick meal, that kind of thing, that's restoring D4 hit points.
Okay.
If you have a full night's sleep, that's a D6. So now you're rolling for those things. So there's always the chance that you're getting 1s. But that is how resting works. Now, it is very important, Taylor, that when you rest, you have food or drink. Because if you are resting and you don't have any food or drink, then no HP is recovered. It doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah.
And after 2 days of that, you become starving. And now you start losing HP every day, a D4. So your character could just outright die because you have 4 hit points. If you roll a 4, you're dead.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Well, you go to 0 and then you would roll the D4 back from the broken thing. And if you then roll the 4, you'd be just dead. But you could just be hemorrhaging from starvation. It's crazy the things that could happen. There's also the possibility that you become infected. And if you're infected, you also don't benefit at all from resting and you lose a D6 of health daily.
Ew.
So you can see how things are getting pretty hardcore here.
Yeah, and it's causing like a something that doesn't normally come up a lot, at least in our personal games, is like the acquisition of food and water.
Yeah, it's a huge thing that you could keep track of. It truly could. You could lean into the survival aspect of it big time. And it's an interesting question.
It's kind of built for it.
It really is. And it's an interesting thing, I think, at least these are the things I think of in terms of an apocalyptic story and adding in that survival element to it. Because like if you compare it to something like The Walking Dead or like Last of Us,
right?
There's hope in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Here, not so much, unless you invent that into the world building. If that's something that you want to put in there, like obviously the book is very much like, no, the world's going to end. But of course you could like finagle that and just be like, oh, actually, like it does change it a lot. And I don't know if I would do
Right.
that, but I do think you could.
Mm-hmm.
But it is really interesting because, yeah, why are you surviving? Like, why are you putting in so much fight for this? That's why I have a lot of ideas for actual plays and for games that I want to play with this that kind of delve into that question of like, where are you finding purpose in these dark times? You know, with
Right.
this inevitability at the end of the horizon, why are you doing what you're doing? And I think that's really, really powerful and a dark and deep and macabre subject to talk about. You know, it's very talking about
Yeah.
mortality and stuff. But yeah, so, one of these days. But getting into it a little further, um,
Mm-hmm.
there is like morale as well for
Okay.
combat purposes. A lot of the enemies are not going to fight until their last hit point. So what
Mm-hmm.
happens is if a leader is killed, if half the group is eliminated, or if a single enemy has only a third of their hit points left, then you roll for morale.
Okay.
Every monster stat block has a very specific number for morale. It'll say
Got it.
something like 6, 7, whatever. It'll say a number.
Mm-hmm.
You roll a 2d6. And if you roll greater than what their morale number is, then
Mm-hmm.
that creature is demoralized.
Okay.
Then you roll a d6, 1 through 3, it flees, 4 through 6, it surrenders.
Okay.
So pretty cool. I like that. Putting it in there. What happens next in the combat and stuff. You don't have to think about it too deeply. You can just roll some dice and figure it out. Now, this game does have leveling up, which is really interesting since it is
Yeah.
an apocalyptic story to the end of times. But we do have leveling up. Now that it says that the GM gets to decide when leveling up should occur. Molly Adeza, fucking listen to that. The GM gets to decide when the leveling up occurs.
That's right, Molly.
You take that, Molly, you son of a gun. Anyway,
Official firm
she's the
stance.
greatest. I know, she's fun. But I need her to GM for me so that I can message her every day about leveling me up.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so first off, you might get more HP. You roll 6d10. If the result of 6d10 is greater than or equal to your current HP max, then hey, it increases by a full d6 worth.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So,
So you don't get the
hey,
6d10 HP. You just get to add
a
another d6.
d6.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you find something maybe.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
left in the debris you find, and then roll a d6.
Sure.
1 through 3 is nothing. A 4, you find 3d10 silver. 5, you get an unclean scroll. And 6, you get a sacred scroll. Now,
Okay.
these scrolls and stuff like that, that's like they're like powers and abilities, and like it's almost like reading a spell scroll, you know?
Right.
Pretty basically. And I'll go over those in a moment. But that's something you can find when you level up. And then there's ability changes. So you roll a d6 against each of your abilities. Now, keeping in mind, I didn't go over it explicitly, but this game never uses the full ability score. So
Right.
whereas in D&D, if you have an 18 in strength, you have a +4. Sometimes you'll use the 18, very rarely, but sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you do use it when you're calculating things in addition to like, oh, your strength score goes up by 2. It's not
Right.
+4 becomes +6. It's
Right. Right. Right.
18 becomes 20, which then changes your modifier from 4 to 5.
Right.
This game, that 18 goes away forever. Once you figure out your character stats in the very beginning of the game and you look at the
Mm-hmm.
table to figure out the modifiers, the big number goes away forever. You only deal with modifiers for the rest of the game.
Okay.
So if it says your strength goes up by 1, then +2 becomes +3. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean?
Okay.
Um, so you're rolling a d6 against each of your abilities. If the result is equal to or greater than, then the ability goes up by 1 to a max of +6. But if the result is lower, then the ability is decreased by 1.
That's crazy.
So you could just get worse at things, which in an apocalypse with how bad healthcare is these days, it makes sense. It makes sense. Abilities from -3 to -1 are always increased by 1 unless the die result is a 1. Then the ability is
Okay.
reduced, but it can never go below a -3.
Thank God. Okay.
Thank God, man. So that's how level ups kind of work. Now we get into powers and omens. There really is so much to Mörk Borg.
Right.
When you are breaking down all of the rules in a single podcast episode. But like, if you think about it, I kind of could go over the entire book in a podcast episode.
Yeah.
Granted, it would be like just truly I'm breezing through information, but like it's not that complicated of a
It's not,
system.
I mean, the book
It's
itself is
very
not that
basic.
big.
No, it is not. It's quite small. I mean, and most of it is it's
And
the
it's
fact that it's a
huge
hardcover.
text. Yeah, and it's huge text and super big words.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot of writing, like in terms of like it gets pretty
Yeah.
artistic towards some of
Yeah.
the monster
Was
art and stuff like that. So it's so approachable and fun. The
mhm.
setting, of course, can be like kind of divisive in terms of like if you're not trying to play those kinds of death metal apocalypse sort of
Right.
grabbing somebody's femur and breaking it over their head, then like maybe it's not for you. But
Mm.
it does seem very fun. It seems like mechanically speaking, a massively simpler D&D because it's also D20 and uses modifiers and shit like that. So it just seems
Mhm.
like D&D but way simplified.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so much simpler, but it's essentially D&D. There's just not like instead of there being like 15 skills, it's like no, we're just using the abilities and there's only 4. And here are the
Right, right,
monsters
right.
and combat is quite simple. So then like powers and omens, these are your powers are cool abilities usually written on scrolls. Each morning you roll your whatever your presence is plus a d4. So
Okay.
you roll that d4. If you get a 1, then you add your presence of 4, add your presence, whatever. That's how many powers you can use that day. When
Okay.
you're reading a scroll, it's presence DR12. So you're trying to hit meter beat a 12 in order
Sure.
to activate that scroll. And on a success, the scroll works.
Hmm.
On a failure, the power does not work. You lose D2 hit points and you become dizzy for the next hour. During this hour, powers will always fail in the worst possible way.
Okay. Right. So it's
This
arcane
is where
catastrophe.
arcane catastrophes could come in. Plus, if you get a
Right.
1, yeah.
Right.
Not to mention, some arcane catastrophes can also just be like um, fun effects you could just add. You could just add them to. Because it
Hmm.
also says here a caster who rolls, if on the arcane catastrophe page, it says a caster who rolls the same result twice. Like if you get the same catastrophe 2 times in a row, it says a creator who rolls the same result twice explodes in screaming black fire in which the faces of, and then you have to turn the page like this because it wraps around the page.
Ha.
Screaming black fire in which the faces of the dead are seen. D6 damage each round. Water only feeds this fire.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh fuck.
So hopefully you get your powers right.
Uh-huh.
Then you get your omens. Your class is going to say how many you get for this. Like I said before, if you don't have a class, then you have D2 omens. When you're depleted of omens, then you can re-roll after a 6-hour rest.
Okay.
Omens can do a bunch of things. I already went over all of those things, dealing max damage, re-rolling some dice, neutralizing a crit or a fumble. So pretty important stuff. But
Mhm.
now I'm going to go over the classes and some of the creatures, and then we're all out of here, baby. We're out of here.
Hmm.
So the classes are fucking wild. I'm going to go
Hmm.
over each one. I'm going to read the little description for it, show you the artwork, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
First up, we got the Fanged Deserter. Show you the artwork first.
Oh.
Pretty gnarly.
Okay. Yeah.
What it says here is you have 30 or so friends who never let you down. Your teeth. disloyal, deranged, or simply uncontrollable. Any group that didn't boot you out, you left anyway. But your parliament of teeth, enormous, protruding, thick, and sharp, have always been your allies. You get a bite attack, so
Nice.
that's fun. They have little tables in here, like with each of the classes, like earliest memories for this one, where you roll a d6. It could be something like a derelict, rotting ship rolling endlessly across a gray sea, sleeping with dogs in the corner of an inn, waiting for someone to return. Then there's like all different kinds of little abilities here, and you get to power up those abilities. These would be like considered like your powers, kind of, I think. So all different kinds of things. So that's the Fang Deserter. You're just like a fighter with fangs. You bite people. You deserted something.
Yeah.
Again, very like loosely written. You get to fill in all the blanks and stuff like that. Next up, look at this little freak. Look at that little guy. That's right. Gutter-born scum. An ill star smiled upon your birth. Poverty, crime, and bad parenting didn't help neither. In your community, an honest day's work was never an option. Not that you ever tried. What are you, some kind of mug? A razor blade and a moonless night are worth a week of chump work. So some of your abilities that you can choose include Coward's Jab, Filthy Fingersmith, Abominable Goblobber.
These fingers.
Yeah. Abominable Goblobber. The way that ability works, in case you were wondering, I know I saw your face. It says your phlegm is viscous, lumpy, violent, ballistically accurate at short range. You can spit D2 times during a fight.
Gross.
Targets are blinded, retching, and vomiting for D4 rounds.
Dice.
Yeah. So that's the Gutterborn Scum.
Gross.
Then we have the Esoteric Hermit.
Ooh.
Yes. The stone of your cave is one with the stars, silence and perfection. Now the chaos of a fallen world disturbs your rituals, and the call of night grows blacker than your cavern's gloom. Irritating. So you're just a loner, and this newfangled apocalypse is ruining your slumber and your rituals and stuff. You can roll for Eldritch Origins. Some of these abilities: a Book of Boiling Blood, Master of Fate, Initiate of the Invisible College, Bard of the Undying, or Hawk as Weapon. Your crafty, almost intelligent hawk is loyal only to you. You get a hawk.
Sweet. That's rad.
Cool. You'll be sad when it dies. Next up.
It's not going to die. You're not going to kill my little guy.
I'm all the bad guys. Wretched royalty.
Scraw.
Bowed down only by the memories of your own lost glory. You could never submit it to anyone else. Not you of noble blood. Why did I say noble like that? Not you of noble blood. Not that you expect any of these peons to understand the depths of your sorrow. Painfully average, you adjust no abilities. Roll a d8 on the weapons table. Roll a d4 on the armor table, but re-roll if you receive heavy armor. You begin with 2 of the following, and then you get 2 of those little like abilities.
Right.
Very cool. Number 5, Heretical Priest.
Oh,
we're getting into our anti-cleric a little bit.
Hold on. Show that picture a little bit better. Yeah. Oh my God.
Hell yeah, dude. They're looking
horrifying.
Hunted by
like
the
Mother Miranda got
two-headed.
struck by lightning.
Yeah, pretty bad. Pretty bad. Okay. Hunted by the two-headed basilisks of the one true faith. This heretic can be found raving in ruins, traipsing endlessly down dusty roads and desecrating cathedrals by night. Kind of a interesting
Gross.
little
Yeah,
thing
right.
you got
I don't
there.
know.
Yeah, that's fun. And last but not least, we have the Occult Herb Master.
Ooh,
An evil druids, you say? Why not?
sand
This one's
evil.
really short. It just says, born of the mushroom, raised in the glade, watched by the eye of the moon in a silver black pool. And that's all it says.
Ah,
But the abilities you get include things like your tough is wood, so you get 3d6 plus 2 for toughness.
okay.
Your toughness already is going to be a little bit better, but you get to make all different kinds of things like poison, southern frog stew. That's crazy. Elixir vitalis, spider owl soup, which can let you see in darkness and climb on walls for 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. Crazy stuff, man. All kinds of cool stuff. And then we get into creatures. Creatures are all over the place. It'll give you like a big name like Seth here, but then in
Right.
little it'll tell you what kind of creature Seth is.
Mm-hmm.
Seth is a goblin. We have Bent.
Naturally.
Bent is just some scum. So for these monsters, they're really basic. I mean, it gives you a little bit of like a paragraph or two on a description of what a goblin is in the selection of this world and the
Right.
world building here. All goblins carry a curse. Once like you, they are now trapped in the prison of their crazed goblin flesh. Only their eyes reveal the truth. But it goes over their HP, their morale, their armor,
Okay.
which for Seth is just a minus D2. It's just their ropey skin. It says what kind of weapon they might have, a knife / a short bow, and special. Their special is quick, which just means attacks and defense are DR 14. Or special is quick. Yeah, I think that just means they're quick. I don't know. They
Yeah.
move a little bit faster. Yeah. Bent says all the same things. Their knife is poisoned,
Okay.
which means you have to take a test of toughness every time they hit you. Otherwise, you can become infected, which could mean the no
Oh,
healing thing.
right.
So, big deal with that. We have a berserker, which is kind of like this crazed sort of barbarian, wild person. Just looks like somebody who's been
Uh-huh.
ravaged by the sin of wrath, kind of. They're just going nuts, these berserkers. They do get 2 attacks, but they
Okay.
don't have time for defense. So their DR to hit them is a little bit lower.
Okay.
Then you got wraiths. We got blood drenched skeletons, specifically blood drenched variety of
Specifically the blood
skeletons.
dread, not the bit, not those your mom's favorite, like the bleached white
Yeah,
skeletons. No, no, these are
no,
blood
no, no.
drenched.
These are
These
blood
are
drenched. And then we got
a
liches,
lich. Okay, yeah, cool.
classic undead necromancer kind of type. The interesting thing too is that for some of these, or for most of them, it also has like for the lich, it says if you capture it, you get 200 silver.
Oh,
Its remains 130 silver, and just its skull will get you 100 silver.
okay.
Whereas like a blood drenched skeleton captured is 35 silver. So much less because it's kind of a weaker thing, right?
Mhm.
We also have trolls. We have zombies. We have undead dolls. Oh, no.
I don't like it.
Terrifying.
I don't
Lady
like it.
porcelain. In Svelland, relic thieves, defamers, and corrupt clerics suffer a punishment of exquisite and deeply impractical cruelty. Their children or grandchildren are enclosed in porcelain dolls, then placed in cathedral windows to die slowly of Jesus fucking Christ. I'm going to stop reading there. Oh my God. We also have these things called grotesques, which I just feel like are gargoyles, essentially.
Dale wants to know
These
about
weird.
capturing creatures. Is it like a Pokeball situation, like a net, big
Oh, I think that
big
it would
net?
literally it would be like Witcher style. Like you're like capturing it, like you're tying it down, you're manacling it, roping, like a just like
Okay.
catching a wild animal.
Right. Okay. Fair
Is how
enough.
I think it would work. We have the Wickhead Knife Wielder,
Okay.
a Wyvern, which is cool. Then there's a bunch of outcasts and followers and stuff like that. These are just like other small stats of different creatures that you can run into. And then
Hmm.
it gets into a like a one shot essentially, or like the Rot Black Sludge or the Shadow King's Lost Heir, an introductory dungeon crawl for Mörk Borg. And that's the
Cool.
last part of the book. But it's really
Right.
cool. There's like indexes in the back of the book. There's all different quick tables that you can help the GM come up with things on the fly instead of improving fully, like little tables to help you do a lot. There's stuff in the beginning of the book,
Hmm.
all these incredible little tables to help inspire so many different world building and like improv moments. Um, if you don't have anything at your fingertips. So there's just so much going on with this game. It just seems so fun to me. I want to play it so freaking bad.
Yeah. It looks really good. Looks really
It
fun.
looks really fun. Um, a lot of different ideas come to mind for this, like in terms of other than just using totally like as written, which I think is something that I genuinely would love to do,
Hmm.
is to just use the setting as written. I
Yeah.
genuinely would love that. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
often I feel that way.
Right.
I'm so
Yeah.
used
Yeah.
to
Yeah. But
D&D and I'm just like kind of like, okay, I understand a typical heroic fantasy setting that D&D puts out, and no shade to them or
right.
their writers or designers or anything. It's just like I get it.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I understand. Um, so like this is such a breath of fresh air, or rather rancid poison black air filled with fire and flesh smoke or something insane because it's fucking nuts. So I'm just like really into it. So I had a couple of ideas of different things that could work as like maybe plot ideas. I had one that was like a group of strangers meeting at an inn or a diner or something like that. This would be if you were modernizing it a little bit, and
Hmm.
then you could do something to the effect of like, okay, that they find out the apocalypse is happening. Like the apocalypse starts when these strangers are together at this dusty roadside diner, very much like the movie Legion. Um, but using Morkborg and maybe
Hmm.
having it be less like biblical. Obviously, that
Right.
movie's not accurately biblical because, I mean, have you seen the angels? They're not biblically accurate in that. Paul Bettany? I don't think so. I'm sorry, buddy.
I don't think so. You have
uh,
wait. You have only two eyeballs.
you have only two eyeballs and only two wings? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
And
Miss
so,
me with that fake shit.
yeah, exactly. If it's not canon, keep your biblical headcanon out of here, dude. What is this, a fanfic? No, I do genuinely believe though. Could you imagine? Are there Bible fanfics? That's so funny. They're just like, anyway,
There
so
has to be.
King
Oh
Solomon cut
God.
me in
And they're
half.
called the apocryphal.
Heyo.
That's the apocryphal books. It's all just fan fiction. The
Oh
Book
my
of Judas,
God.
that's just some kid on Tumblr.
Listen, Lazarus. He raised me up. I'll tell you that much for free. So anyway, moving on before we offend an entire community. Too much. That's one idea. I also have an idea of what if the players, maybe they're different, maybe some of the players, maybe this is all of the players, I'm not sure. But I think it would be interesting to explore this idea of regret.
Right.
Again, these are like ideas that I have that are like not that
Hmm.
funny or comedic.
Yeah, no, because this is kind of a
You
really
could
serious
do
game.
this
You
game and
could,
still do funny.
yeah. You could, but it's
Shaun of the Dead vibes
definitely,
of like hardcore
mm,
horror and scariness, and like there are intimate and serious moments,
yeah.
but also there's jokes. So you could do
Mhm.
Shaun of the Dead or something like that kind of vibe, or you could go more serious. And that's what,
Just
like I
straight
want Morkborg to
Walking
maybe be
Dead.
a
Yeah.
way of doing some serious stuff. And
I'd
so
love
another
to.
idea is like, what if the party are the people who started the apocalypse or hastened it at least, or are working
Right.
for the quote unquote evil side,
Mhm.
and they come to sort of, they have whatever their epiphanies are, where they're
Mhm.
like, fuck this. And now they're trying to stop it, but it's all for naught. They're not going to
Right.
be able to stop it. They've already done too much damage. It's
The
going to
wheels
happen.
turning
And
now.
so, what
Yeah.
would that story be like? That's fucking depressing as hell. I don't know. I think
Right.
that's a really interesting thing to explore. And then finally, based on a Kevin Costner movie that I have not seen, but it was on a Watch Mojo list of like top 20 apocalypse movies called The Postman.
Mhm.
And it kind of has Walking Dead vibes, or maybe not Walking Dead, but I haven't really even watched The Walking Dead. But it's like that apocalyptic time where there's like settlements, you know?
Right. Right. Right.
And Kevin Costner's character is a postman. He delivers mail from settlement to
Mhm.
settlement. And it's this idea, the story of that whole thing brings about this idea of like, why are you delivering mail? Like, no one's making you do this. There is no postal service, right?
Right.
This is just a guy who's just like, you could say he's self-employed, but he doesn't even get paid for this. He's literally
Right.
just doing it.
Right.
And it's a fascinating commentary on communication and how important it is to stay connected and have this like, yeah, just this connection with other
Mhm.
humans and with other people, loved ones and the like. And so I just think that could be such an interesting story to tell on the drop and on the backdrop of an apocalypse of like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
spending your final days delivering other people's messages.
Mhm.
Why are you doing that? Do you know these people whose messages you're sending, or are they truly strangers? And what about the messages that you want to be saying to your people? Like, where are your people? Like, are you, in theory, like, obviously it depends on each individual character that's in the game, but like,
Mhm.
somebody could make a character where like they have their own family and they're like, sorry, babe, I have to deliver this other person's letter to this
Right.
thing over here. Not to mention that, um, from a kind of like above board, big braining it a little bit, that setting idea or that plot line of like you're traveling to deliver mail
Mhm.
allows me to explore multiple areas in the setting of Mörk Borg.
I just thought of a tragic story on that particular line of you asked if you knew the people that you're sending email to, and no, at first you don't, but like maybe there's one person who regularly gives you messages to give to somebody to a town that's been destroyed. And
Oh,
rather than say, oh no, the
oh,
town's destroyed, you come back and you write her a letter as that person from the other town and deliver that
oh.
back to her. Yeah.
We see a scene of you getting to that town and
Hmm.
it's just a crater. And
Yeah.
then you like move a piece of debris and there's just like that old like tin box. You
Right.
open it and it's full of letters.
Hmm.
That's heartbreaking, dude. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do is that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
I want that to be the party. And it's a group
Mhm.
of postal workers. I think that for the actual play for Morkborg, I think that's the one. Because I
I think so.
love the
I like that.
premise of it. I
Yeah.
like the depth that it can hit.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that there won't be a joke throughout the entire season. Like, I'm not gonna tell people, "Hey, no comedy ever." It's like if it's
Right.
natural, it's natural. But like
Right.
overall, the tone, the music, the soundtrack, the score, everything is going to be set up for drama.
Right.
Like things will be sad, they will be bleak, they will be intense. That does not mean that there can't be moments of tenderness or hope or what have you, or love or any of those like positive feelings, but
Hmm.
it is going to be underscored with this like intensity. So I'm just looking forward to that so much. I just think it's so fun. And when I think of intensity, Taylor, I think of our today's sponsor for us, actually, which is just the fruit pineapple. The fruit pineapple is sponsoring this particular podcast. That's right, Taylor. I've lined up a series of sponsors for all of 2026, and they're just random things that you and I like. which is beautiful. So this episode is one of my sponsors. It's pineapple. So it's just pineapple. Just go out, get a pineapple. All pineapple have come together. They've decided to sponsor us. We're one of their first podcasts that they're ever sponsoring.
Like
Thank
actual
you so much, pineapple.
Yeah, okay. All right. You know what? We'll get into that later.
Like
That's
Veggie Tales, but pineapple.
Tonight. You can find us on TikTok. Oh my goodness. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at So You Want to Be a DM, or you can ask us a question at soyouwannabeadm@gmail.com. If you like the episode, don't forget to give us 5 stars and a review wherever you found us, and check out the Patreon, the Twitch, and our merch with the link in the description. Join us next time for more Dungeon Master tips and tricks.
Bye.
See ya.
Hey gang, it's Justin. I have the honor of giving a shout out to the members of our Patreon gang. Nub Muffins, may Palor's light shine upon you. Marsavies, have you watered your flesh prison lately? Yazvi, the eternal library where color and community await you. Molly Adeza, who gets yet another level up. And there's Elijah, Tappy, and Linguini. Gang, we appreciate and love you. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks from So You Wanna Be a DM.